Hello and welcome to Class 10 History. Dear children, first of all, let me congratulate you for coming into this very new class. Now, since we have already entered the new year 2021, there are few things that I would like to tell you as a teacher, because this year I will be taking you for history in class 10. As you know, we have history and civics, but civics will be taken by a different teacher. There are not many changes, especially in the question pattern, because you already have attempted the examinations of class 9. Therefore, for you, I'm going to start off today's lecture by first introducing the subject. Then I intend to go into the syllabus that is chalked out for you for 2022, and then I will talk to you about the question pattern. So let me begin by introducing you yet again to this subject called history and civics. Previously in class 9, if you all studied about civilizations like the Harappan civilization, and then we slowly moved on to the Vedic age. Then we also looked at the Mauryan Empire, the age of the Mughals that marked a golden period in Indian history. Then slowly we moved on to South, where we looked at the Sangam age. And also at the same time, we were studying contemporary history. Do you remember studying about the Renaissance, the Reformation, Industrial Revolution, etc.? So, we were actually trying to cover up both Indian history as well as the world history. Similarly, in class 10 also, children, you have to be prepared for both the history, the Indian as well as the world history. But we are going to move a little bit further, and we will start, now I'm coming to the syllabus, we will start the chapter on Indian history from the year 1857. Then we will look at the various historical events covering from 1857 and concluding with 1947, the year in which India achieved independence from the British. So, the period will be, or the timeline will be, from 1857 to 1947. You can do a little bit of maths and calculate the number of years that we will have to study. Of course, we will be picking and choosing only the historical landmarks. Like when we begin the first chapter, we have to start off with the Revolution of 1857, where we'll be studying about the meaning of revolution. You will also be studying about the various factors, political, military, economic, religious and social causes which led to the revolution of 1857. Then we will look into the second chapter where we will discuss the growth of a spirit, a new kind of feeling which came into India, the feeling of nationalism. Though we were inspired by events happening outside India, like the French Revolution, the Chinese Revolution, the Irish Revolution, yet this growing spirit of nationalism in the early 19th century was responsible for the establishment of a national political party in 1885 called the Indian National Congress. In this chapter, we will also discuss the contributions made by some of the very, very famous early Congress leaders like Dadabhai Naoroji, Surendranath Banerjee, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and later we will look at the assertive nationalists the young leaders of the Congress, namely Bipin Chandra Pal, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Lala Lajpat Rai. Not forgetting to mention the very, very historic partition of Bengal by Lord Curzon, the effects of the partition on the nationalism in India. Then we will look at the next political organization to be formed in 1905 called the Muslim League. Now, after having dealt with the objectives of the Muslim League, we will study one of the, you can say, important and significant era in Indian history called the Gandhian era, which none of us can skip out. So the Gandhian era will start from 1915 to 1948. Within this period, we will have to discuss important movements like the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and the last movement of Gandhiji called the Quit India movement. When doing this simultaneously, we will also look at another leader, that is Subhash Chandra Bose, and we will discuss the aims and objectives of INA as well as the contributions of Netaji. Towards the last phase, which begins from 1945, with the end of the Second World War, we will be looking at the various plans which came to India, like the Cabinet Mission Plan, the Mountbatten Plan, and the final plan, which was the Indian Independence Plan. And then the Indian history will end, like I said, with the independence of India. In the contemporary or European history section, we will start from the First World War, which broke out in 1914. Here we will be studying about the causes of the war, the spread of the war, and the effects of the First World War on the entire world. Then in the next chapter, we will discuss the rise of dictatorships, the reasons why we had a Second World War in 1939. We will have to look at the expansionist policies of Mussolini and Hitler. We have to understand the ideologies of fascism and Nazism which existed in Europe at that point of time. Then we will look at, in 1945, the birth of a world organization called United Nations Organization. After looking at the objectives of the UNO, we will also look at the agencies of the UNO which are performing varied functions even today. Lastly, we will conclude with the non-aligned movement. So therefore, in brief, in a nutshell, I have already told you about what to expect in class 10 history in 2021. Now let me come to the question pattern. As you all know, children, your history and civics examination is out of 100 marks. We all know the total marks is 100. But we have divided it. There is a breakup of marks which I am going to discuss now. 100 marks is divided into, all right, let me tell you, two halves. One is 80 marks will be theory, that is theory paper is 80 marks, and 20 marks is allotted for your project, which we also call internal assessment. So 80 plus 20 will make it 100. Now even this 80 marks, now let me write here. All right. Now coming to the 80 theory, I will not touch 20 marks. The project, the internal assessment topic will be given to you and you know how to go about it. Now let me discuss the breakup of the 80 marks theory paper. 80 marks is divided into, all right, 50 marks for history and 30 marks for civics. 50 marks for history and 30 marks for civics. Now let me again break up 30, right? 30 is broken down into 20 and 30. 50 marks is broken down into 20 and 30. 20 marks is for 10 questions in the objective section, which carries 2 marks each. 10 questions of 2 marks will make it 20. 30 marks here, right, is referring to the 3 questions that you have to do. Let me make a correction here. 3 long questions which you will have to do, and each of the questions will contain 10 marks, which will make it a total of 30 marks. So 3 will be long questions here, all right, and 10 will be compulsory questions here. Now let me come to civics. Civics, we said, is of 30 marks. 30 marks is divided into 10 and 20. 10 again means you will have to do 10 questions that are compulsory, 1 mark each, so that will be 10 marks. 1 mark each. 20 means you will have to do how many questions? 2 questions. And each of these questions will carry 10 marks, which means a total of 20. So 10 plus 20 is equal to 30 marks. All right. Now we have 2 sections here. One is the compulsory section, where you have to attempt, where you have to write, all right, because it's written, answer all the questions. And you have the next one, which is choice-based questions, where you have a number of questions there, and you will have to make the correct choice and attempt 3 questions from the history section and 2 questions from your civics. Even 10 marks will be further divided. You can have a question of 4, 3, all right, 2, 1, like that. So therefore, dear children, I have today in this video lecture, I have introduced you to the subject. I have also introduced you and given you an overview of the syllabus that is given to you by the council. And I have also discussed with you the question pattern that is there for your examination of history and civics. From the next video lecture that we will be having, I intend to start off with the very first chapter, that is Revolution of 1857. So please keep your textbooks ready by then, and then I'm going to start off with the chapter. Thank you for watching.